Yumi, what are you doing?
You know anything about SMART goals?
Smart goals. They're like goals you can achieve.
Yeah.
Philo's birthday.
Happy birthday, hot Lila. Happy birthday to you.
All right, welcome to January 2. Today we're talking about SMART goals. You might have heard about this before. It's commonly attributed to Peter Drucker and his management principles, but I learned it in my NLP practitioner training. So yesterday we went through a bunch of goals, New Year's resolutions, and we crossed them off and kicked them out if they weren't relevant to the three major questions. If you haven't seen that video, go ahead and click up there in the link and you'll see it. But today we want to take the goals that we came up with and set them under the SMART framework, which will allow us to achieve them a whole lot better. The less clear we are with our goals, the less likely we are to get them accomplished. The SMART framework gives us more specificity and more clarity in the goals, and it allows us to know when we've achieved them and gives us feedback on their own. So let's jump into it. The SMART framework, spelled S-M-A-R-T, is an acrostic for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. A lot of times when you look at a goal, it's fuzzy, it's not clear. It's something like, oh, I want to learn a foreign language, or I want to meet the love of my life, or I want to stop dating assholes. Right? These are not very specific goals. If I'm talking to you and you're like, I want to stop dating assholes, I'm like, well, what does that mean? Does that mean that you need to stop choosing people who are treating you poorly, or does it mean that you need to stop attracting people that are treating you poorly because the way that you interact actually attracts those people? What does that mean? Like, what does I need to stop dating assholes mean? Does it mean you need to be a monk, a nun, or something? So you want to be specific about what that means. If you have a goal like, I'm going to stop dating assholes or stop dating stupid people, then you're going to be like, okay, well, what am I trying to, like, what specifically do you want to avoid? Well, specifically, you want to avoid any sort of abuse, any downplaying of your dreams, or have them not be negative when you're trying to share intimate parts of your life with them. Those are all more specific ways to describe that and give you specific things to look for when evaluating it. So you want to be specific first off. So if you're looking at your resolutions and you're like, I want to date hotter people, what does that mean? Hotter than what? Hotter compared to what? And to go more specifically, what are you trying to get out of dating somebody who's hot, right? Are you trying to get more sex? Are you trying to get more turned on? Are you trying to get more status when you bring them around? Are you trying to get more of your approval from your friends or your family? Like, what is specifically you trying to get at when you're looking to date hotter people? If you make your goal specific, like, okay, I want somebody who will go out with me and everybody will be jealous of the person that I'm dating, then that's a much more specific goal than, like, I need to date harder people. So the second one, M, in the SMART framework, is measurable. If you cannot measure your goals, there's no way to know that you actually achieve them, and there's no way to know that you need to set new goals, right? Like, there's no way to say, I've gotten this far, now I need to modify and adapt and calibrate and then get new goals into the future. And then you're stagnating, trying to do the same thing over and over again. I see this a lot with my clients who want to go meet out I see this a lot with my clients who want to go out and meet new people. So they go out to the bar and they set like a 60 or 90-day challenge where they go and they're like, okay, I'm going to meet new people. I'm going to meet new people. I'm going to meet new people. But when they call me for accountability, they will say, okay, I went out, but I didn't approach anybody. It's like, well, then you're not actually achieving your goal. If you're meeting new people, you got to be measurable. And it's like, well, I'm going out. I'm like, well, your goal is not to go out every night. Your goal is to meet new people. So you don't have to go to a bar or a club or whatever to meet new people. You can do it in your everyday life. You can do it in the grocery store, in the coffee shop, in the restaurant, in the bookstore, in the walk between your house and the nearby whatever. You can do it at a dance class. You can do it in yoga. You can do it at the gym. Like, there's a bunch of ways to meet new people. You're not hitting your goal if your goal is to meet new people. You're just going out, and that's peripheral. It's like a means to that end. So when you're talking about measurability, you want to say, okay, well, yesterday we talked about having the goal be in your control, right? So if you're talking about measurability, you want to say, okay, I am going to talk to one new person per day and see if I can get them, or see if they qualify for my to date or to be in my network. And if you do approach one new person, then you've achieved the goal. If you do not, then you have not achieved the goal. If you have 0 approaches today, then you're not moving in that direction. If you have 1 approach today, then it's acceptable. Or if you have 5 approaches today, then you've exceeded it, right? So making the goal be measurable, instead of being like, I need to date hotter people. And you'd be like, all right, I want to date somebody who people are jealous of when I take them out and about. Well, that says very specific things. You want them to come out. B, you want them to be savvy enough to not make you look stupid when you go out, like if that's part of your goal set. And it gives you something measurable to evaluate them with. Like when you're on your first date, you can be like, all right, so do you like going out? Do you like making people jealous? Do you like doing fun things, adventurous? Do you like to fuck with people? Are you socially savvy? Those are all qualifiers that you can use in your conversations and your qualification in the date that will filter them out to be the kind of person that you're actually looking for. And those qualifiers are measurable. You say, okay, well, I went out and I did these things. I met these new people, and then I evaluated them against these criteria, and they passed. So now I'm dating somebody that I was wanting to date, rather than just kind of taking what came along and then navigating the inconsistencies. The third part of the SMART goal system is attainability. The goal has to be attainable. You don't want to set a goal that is completely stretch goal that you don't know what you're doing. I get a lot of people who have a lot of childhood trauma, and they'll say, I want a caring, loving family. Okay, well, you don't have that. You don't have that modeled. It's not a realistic thing. Like, maybe you're not necessarily going to be good in that environment, right? You want to take kind of baby steps into things that are completely unknown. A similar example would be if somebody's like, all right, I'm going to make $1 billion next year. It's like, well, do you know how to make $1,000 this year? You don't? Okay, so maybe you should figure that out first. Maybe you should move to $1 million or move to whatever. Not to say that the tactics and the strategies for getting a small amount of money and getting a large amount of money aren't completely different, but you don't want to set a goal that stretches you too far out of your realm of belief or possibility, because that crosses over the do I believe I can do it, do I believe that I will do it questions that we were talking about yesterday. So you want the goal to be attainable, rather than say, okay, I'm going to go date supermodels. You can say, all right, well, I'm going to date somebody who checks these boxes specifically. And then later on, as you move forward in your social circles, you can get yourself in the environment and be around the people that you're looking to date in general. So it's got to be attainable. You don't want to set a goal too far out into the your ability. Like, it's like, okay, I want a Maserati. Well, you can lease one for 700 something bucks a month. And so if you can't spare an extra 700 something bucks a month, then you got to do things to move in that direction. But that's kind of attainable. But if you're like, okay, I want a Maserati, but you only make minimum wage, it's going to be very difficult to come up with that kind of, that's more than 3/4 of your paycheck. So you're going to have to level up in the financial realm in order to get there. And similarly, if I was like, okay, I need a 55-foot yacht, it's $3.5 million or whatever. There's no way in my current status that I'm like, okay, that's going to be a reasonable expenditure. I've never seen $3.5 million, like not even in the computer screen in my account. So I got to kind of get to that point first before I make a goal like that. It's got to be attainable. The R in SMART goals is relevant. It's will I go after it? Is it something that dovetails in with the rest of the things that I do in my life? If I'm saying, okay, I'm going to be a millionaire stripper, I have to know that I can do that, right? Like I don't have any examples of people in my life that have ever achieved $1 million being a stripper. And I also don't have any examples or have heard any stories or have anybody to call on as a mentor to say that my obese body is going to be a high moneymaker in the stripping profession. So that's just not relevant. Like we were talking about attainability a minute ago, but I mean, it's not relevant in my life. Like I don't hang out at strip clubs trying to charm the patrons, right? Like this is not my lifestyle. And so in order to accurately narrow my goal down into something that is going to be attainable, I've got to do it within kind of like the edges of my relevance, right? Like I'm more likely going to make money creating content, coaching, giving relationship advice than I am doing anything else, because that's what I do for a living. And so I can stretch myself in that space and maybe move laterally across the industry or something, but I'm not going to make a big old leap over into mastering the male stripper profession very quickly. I don't know how long it takes to ramp up or onboard into something like that, but chances are I'm not going to be very good at it. I'm not particularly flexible or athletic, and I've never seen myself in glittery thongs or whatever. So I have no idea what my relevance is when I'm gonna make that goal, right? So if I have a goal, it's like, okay, I'm gonna be $1 million stripper, I probably need to cut that down into something a little bit more relevant to my current lifestyle within my skill sets or within my network, right? Another note on that is you want to do stretch goals, like things that are kind of out of your comfort zone, but you want them to be 1 or 2 steps outside of your comfort zone, because if you do achieve those things, then you get much more motivation statistically to keep carrying forward and stretching and growing and growing and growing. However, if you put it too far out, it breaks your flow, and then you don't accomplish it, and then you can tend to beat yourself up for not accomplishing what you said you were going to accomplish, because it fucks with your integrity. So you want your goals to kind of be relevant within your sphere of influence, and then just a little outside of it. One way to deal with that is the Pareto principle, right? You want your goals to be as efficient as you can. So you'll say, okay, what goals should be higher priority in my life? If I was looking at all sorts of different ways to make money, I should probably look something in the coaching space, in the dating advice space, in the online course space, that kind of stuff that I already have kind of familiarity of what I'm doing. The Pareto principle says that 20% of my effort is going to create 80% of my results, and 80% of my effort is going to create 20% of my results. So there's some more highly leveraged things in my life to move toward my goals. And if I choose those things, they're going to be a lot more relevant to me. So if my goal is to make $1 million, for instance, then I'm probably going to have a much better time in the things that I'm already good at and kind of stretching out from there than I am taking on a brand new profession like being a male stripper. The T in SMART goals is time bound. I forgot who said it. I think it was Robert Herjavec or something. He said a goal without a deadline is just a dream. So when you're setting goals, you want it to be finite. You want to be like, I want to approach this many people by this time, or per month, or per week, or per day. One of the goals that I set with a lot of my clients in the early dating space is like, I'm going to approach one new person per day. And you make that a habit, and then you're constantly onboarding new people into your system, and you're getting the practice of talking to and evaluating and calibrating with new people. And so when you set that goal, it's like, okay, I'm going to do it 1 per day, or I'm going to do 5 per week, or I'm going to go on 3 dates per week, or whatever. That is a much more time-bound goal than say, I'm going to date more. And so that specificity is going to make your goals super measurable. And if you end up falling off and not going on 3 dates a week, then you can start reverse engineering and trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to get more dates, or how am I going to be on more of these things? And if your modalities of getting dates, like cold approaching on the street, or hooking up on online dating or whatever, isn't working, then you can switch to different modalities, because you can measure like how many dates you're getting. So that's the SMART goal system. I want you to take a look at the goals that you made yesterday in the resolution section, and filtered through the questions that we asked yesterday in the 3 points of the goals. And then with each goal, go through the SMART system. Go through, is it specific? Is it measurable? Is it attainable? Is it relevant? And is it time bound? If you get to the goal and it's a little fuzzy, you're going to get a lot better results out of it if you can make them unfuzzy. If you can run them through the SMART process and make sure that they're specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time bound. If you do that, then your goals are going to be a lot more solid, and they're going to be a lot more clear. And then we're also going to be able to adapt to what's going on in the reality of it as we try to achieve them. And then we can use the feedback mechanisms, which we're going to talk about tomorrow, to revise the goals into things that are not only achievable, but driving you forward to your more esoteric, large vision goals. So that's the SMART goal system. Thanks for joining me here on January 2nd, 2022. I'm Duke for the Intimacy Liberation Army, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, stay awesome.